All right, KT, Fat Tuesday, hour number 2. Get with our guest, Mikey Domagala. We're looking forward to talking some association with Mikey in just a little bit. Update things here at PSR Law Studios. Update some of the scores going. NBA will get back in action soon. But right now, we bring in Mikey Domagala, NBA Buzz. And Mikey, I mean, when you score, 397 points, do you really need to come right back? I mean, you scored enough points for the next 2 weeks. But, Mikey, it's getting ridiculous. 211 points for the Eastern All-Stars, taking care of business against the Western All-Stars. And Mark Hoke and I having a little bit of fun saying that here's Karl Anthony Towns, a Jersey kid, 28 minutes, comes off the bench and scores 50 and can't even get the MVP. Crazy stuff. Mikey D, always great to have you on SportsX Radio.
Ken, and it's always great to talk to you. Yeah, it was a snooze fest, I would say, for 2.5 quarters. And then it seemed like the West was making a little bit of a comeback. They make it a 12-point game with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Myself, and I'm sure a ton of fans are thinking, okay, look at this. Maybe we'll get a little defense heading into the fourth quarter. We'll see some defensive stats.
Funny.
And absolutely nothing, Ken. By the end of that quarter, when they were down 12 with 2 minutes, they end up going down 25 heading into the fourth quarter. And the rest is not history, I should say, because it was a total snooze fest, and it was pretty embarrassing.
Mikey, what do you do to fix it? Because, I mean, Adam Silver was saying, prior, it's funny, on Saturday, it's like, yeah, really looking forward to the game because I really think we're going to see something a little bit different tomorrow. And so he was really, really believing that there was going to be some defense played. And, even Matador defense would have been okay. There were some to where guys just literally moved right out of the way. And, I get it. You don't want guys to get hurt. But then why even play it if you're going to have that? There's got to be something else you can do. How can you tweak it?
Yeah, come on. Just square up a little bit, just act like you're playing some defense. But I think they got to really incentivize it to the players. I mean, listen, Ken, it's kind of embarrassing to say these players make all these millions and you have to put more money on the line for them to really care or something to incentivize it for them to really go hard. I actually am editing a video right now that I just shot about 3 ways the NBA could improve the All-Star game. And ideas I came with is, all right, money on the line. So $1 million for the winning team. I don't know if that's per player or whatnot. But the winning side gets home court advantage in the NBA Finals. I've been seeing that floating around a little bit because that'll make the guys who are in contention in the playoff race play hard. They want that win. And for players who aren't in the playoff race, hopefully the money incentive will make them play hard and kind of want to compete on the biggest stage. And, yeah, it should be enough. But, Ken, I reported earlier that Larry Bird, Julius Erving, and NBA PA executive Andre Iguodala were in the locker room before the game, talking to the players, telling them how important it is for the best of the best to go hard on the biggest stage. And it was the complete opposite. Larry Bird is never in the headlines. And he's talking to you and you don't go hard. It was sad to watch.
Yeah, and you know what? That makes me feel almost like they're like, yeah, that was great. That was your generation. But that's not what we do now because we're making the big bucks. And you could kind of like the way that you feel. And, I remember, and Mark and I were talking about it, there were those all-star games. And as we were growing up, and I guess, yeah, maybe money has just totally changed sports so much that you're never going to have iconic all-star games in any of the sports. Now, Mark mentioned Major League Baseball because you still have guys up there throwing 100 miles an hour, and if you're half-assing it, so to speak, at the plate, you might get beamed or something, or something could happen. So these guys are still, got to go up and hit the ball, and yeah, maybe they're not giving 110% out there in the field or whatnot, but it's at least something out of the 4 major sports that you can watch because we got flag football now with the NFL because nobody wants anybody to get hurt. And then hockey, you got guys, at least hockey was a little competitive. You got guys that are picking their teams and you have different teams, but it's not the same as East-West. It always meant something, whether it was American League, National League, East-West, it meant something. And even if your team sucked, but you had a representative on that all-star team, because I remember there were lean years for the Knicks, but they'd have like one or two representatives on there. And then if your guy got in the game, that was cool. And then same thing, Major League Baseball. If your guy got in, and it was cool back in the day because they didn't have interleague play, so you'd have a Met going up against a Yankee, and you're like, oh, this is it, man. I want to see this because we're not going to see it in the series, so I'd like to see it. And so it was meaningful. But you're right, the pride that they had when Magic Johnson was leading the West and Bird and Jordan and Dominique Wilkins were leading the East. I mean, they came to play, but your money is astronomical now, and I doubt they can get it back to anything that's going to be somewhat competitive.
Yeah, it might be outlawed like the NFL one day. You never know. The viewership's going to go down, and nobody's going to care. Scott Van Pelt had a terrific tweet last night. He said something like, well, if you guys don't care, we don't care. And that's exactly what it's going to be, because the viewership's going to go down. Everybody's going to write it off and whatnot. And Ken, I've been seeing in the NBA Buzz comments, of course, I've been covering it like crazy, and the controversy of it, what could improve, whatever. And a lot of people are saying, well, these guys don't want to get hurt. All right, like I understand that. But as recent as a couple All-Star games ago with the Elam ending, they were going hard in the fourth quarter. How about the early 2000s All-Star games when Kobe treated it like, a playoff game? They weren't really caring about getting hurt, so you just got to go for it. It's like it's a paintbrush statement, but it's almost like the United States as a whole just doesn't have the pride that it used to. And I'm 24 years old saying this. The pride that it used to, and it's trickling down in a ton of different topics and subjects, and the NBA is almost like swallowed up by the money and the fame, and they don't want to have the pride of competing against the best of the best and showing who's best.
There you go. Great stuff. Mikey D. All right, update us on NBA Buzz, man. Everything going on with Mikey D before we get rolling on some association talk.
Yeah, NBA Buzz has been great, just closing in on 3.5 million followers. I'm actually making a big announcement very soon. NBA Buzz is going to be rebranded to Courtside Buzz moving forward. In a few days, I'm working with Facebook, Instagram, and the big social media platforms to work on the name change. It's a little more complicated than I thought, but I figured I'd break that news on the radio tonight. NBA Buzz would be Courtside Buzz. And, yeah, just, a little quiet now into the rest of the regular season, and then we're off and running into the playoffs, which is going to be a crazy race in the West.
Now, can I count on you potentially maybe making it courtside to Vegas? Can you make it out here for the Summer League?
We'll see. I mean, part of the reason why I'm doing the name change is so I disassociate with myself of the NBA maybe running into me down the line and saying, you have NBA Buzz in the name and stuff like that. It's just a lot safer going with Courtside Buzz. It's been 12 great years as NBA Buzz, but, getting out of that lane a little will be better. And that'll probably give me access to the Summer League, me applying to them and them seeing, well, they're not trying to rip off the NBA or something like that. They're now their own standalone company. So I should be getting there this summer, Ken.
That'd be awesome. It'd be great to see you and be able to hang courtside with Mikey D, because I do enjoy the Summer League. It is a festive event, and I love being able to go to 3 or 4 games, especially when you have some of the coveted rookies coming out and trying to get entrenched with their new team and stuff. And so it's a great atmosphere, and they've been doing it a long time now here in the Vegas Valley, and Thomas and Mack, that place is jumping. Throughout the day, you get all these great games. And I know that some of them are on TV, but it is just, in fact, all of them, I think, are on TV sometime or another on different channels or whatnot. But I do enjoy it over there, and it's a great time for Las Vegas, no doubt. All right, let me see. We got a few minutes to go here as far as in this segment, and then we'll take a break and come back, keep you another segment. But I wanted to get your take on the firing of Jacques Vaughn. Only a season in here, and Kevin Ollie takes over. But, this is a Brooklyn team that, really, I don't know what they expected from this team. I mean, they're just not near as good as the other teams. So right now they sit 21-33, but they talked about, different things that I guess they have to have some excuse to fire a coach. So why don't you're there in New York. What are you hearing as far as, the Nets moving forward, thinking that this is something that can't be fixed? Because Jacques Vaughn is a competitor guy. He's always been. Ever since playing college at Kansas, the kid's been a competitive guy. And I can't see him not putting in the effort. And so I'm wondering, is it you're 12 games under 500. I know the folks in Brooklyn thought there'd be potential to at least make the postseason, so I know they're disappointed at least 54 games in. But is this a reason to fire Vaughn, or what have you seen from the Brooklyn Nets and from the franchise?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised that they fired him because he's a player's coach. Good dude, it seems like. Like, the players respect him outside of Cam Thomas. So that could be the reason why. Cam Thomas, of course, great scorer, starts, comes off the bench, and he's very, very outspoken to the media that he doesn't like Vaughn sets with him, his inconsistent minutes. So that could play a factor. But I think, like you said, the Nets were kind of touted to probably be a play-in team, maybe just scratch the surface of the playoffs, and they're not close to it. So maybe Sean Mark sees it as Kevin Ollie will be that fire to set under them, which will kind of push them forward maybe into a playoff push, get a little different look, maybe more attractive to players in free agency because players will see how Jock Vaughn deals with Cam Thomas. I'm not sure, and I was kind of surprised. So that's kind of my take on that. I love Kevin Ollie. I think he should have been, a coach again in the NBA for a lot of years now, but he was so great at UConn that, how could he leave? And the Nets got a good one. So they didn't put an interim coach in who's, unknown for a couple games to slide in there. It's Kevin Ollie. He's legit. He should really be signed for the rest of the season.
Okay, so Doc Rivers, the new guy there in Milwaukee, right? And thinking, okay, well, we got to make sure that we get over the hump. He replaces Adrian Griffin, who got let go in his first year. And not that Griffin didn't have a nice record. I would think he was 31-13, whatever it is. All I know is right now, Doc Rivers is 3-7. And Mark Hoke, my producer, big Sixers fan, he laughed. He said, they have no idea what they're doing, especially when it comes to the postseason. I know that Doc's got the one with the Celtics, but at the end of the day, he's a good regular season coach. Well, he's off to a lousy start as far as a regular season coach, and I know he's just trying to get acclimated to the situation. But talk to me a little bit about Milwaukee right now.
Oh, man, I'll read you two Doc Rivers quotes over the last couple of days. Quote, "I don't understand why you're doing this." Doc Rivers admits he was confused when Milwaukee called him to coach. First, he airs that out on SiriusXM NBA this morning, saying he didn't know why the Bucks were calling him. He didn't know if he should accept it or not. And then the other day, after a bad loss to the G League Memphis Grizzlies, we'll call them, he says, yeah, some of my guys were in Cabo, and some of them were also on the court. Pretty much throwing his guys under the bus after going 3-7. So, Ken, I'm baffled by this. The move, whatever. If they want to go Doc Rivers, who's more, notable and has more experience than Adrian Griffin, that's fine. But he comes in and he's kind of not being thankful for it. He's kind of throwing his guys under the bus. He's putting his foot in his mouth every time he gets interviewed about it. I'm pretty confused by his mindset right now of this, and it's pretty much he's gonna kind of ruin whatever chemistry he has left with his players in 10 games by saying all that.
Go. There you go. Dame Lillard, however, was that MVP. So it wasn't Karl Anthony Towns, it was Dame Lillard. He had 39 in that defenseless All-Star game. But we will come back. We will have one more segment with Mikey D, and then we'll close up strong. I'll get you some overnights as far as college basketball, update the scores as well, and pay attention to that Golden Knights game on ice. NBA back in action on the hardwood on Thursday. And we will talk to Mikey D as we go forward in next segment, how he expects some of these teams to fare in that second half of the season. It's a little more than halfway home, but how he thinks some of these teams will fare. We'll do that when we come back. 101.5 FM KDON, streaming live on that worldwide Odyssey app, AUDACY. If you haven't downloaded it, real easy to do. It is free. Go to Google Play or iTunes, and you can do that. There you go. Little Usher coming back. KT live. PSR Law Studios in Las Vegas. Mikey Domagala joining me, of course, talking a little NBA basketball, update some of the scores on the college hardwood. No NBA action until Thursday. BYU up 5 in Provo, 14-14 left in that second half, up 5, 52-47. Wake Forest now up 19 on Pitt, 15-36 to go. Winston-Salem, TCU a 2-point lead, 15-40 to go at Texas Tech, 45-43. Utah State's lead down to 4. San Diego State has pulled within 4, but now make it 7. So it's 46-39. Aggies lead it in Logan, 12 minutes to go there. Wisconsin up 8 on Maryland, laying 7 in that one. Still 10:41 to go in Madison, 48-40. Creighton up 69-56. So UConn has pulled within 13. And we'll see if the Huskies can make it a little more interesting. Remember the 3 games coming up. San Jose State at Boise State. Broncos minus 16 at home, 141.5. St. Mary's minus 8 against San Fran in Moraga, 134 your total. Nevada minus 14, 145.5 at home in Reno against Wyoming. And then on the ice, Vegas down 1-0 halfway through the first period at the Fortress. So Nashville drawing first blood. We'll keep an eye on that one. Vancouver, Colorado still tied at 1-650 to go second period. Mile High City and 4-1 now. Winnipeg over Minnesota with 9:23 to go. The Wild on the short end after a 10-7 Wild crazy victory last night. Columbus and the LA Kings, the only game yet to drop the puck. Again, the Kings minus 240, 6.5 is your total. All right, Mikey D, let's get into it a little bit as far as the association. Talk to me a little bit about some of these teams going forward because I'm hoping the Knicks, I know they've dropped their last 4 games. I know they're banged up. They're sitting at 33-22, 55 games in. So talk to me. What do you expect from the Knickerbockers the last 27 games of the regular season? I mean, what are you looking for, and where do you think this team can finish? And now with the disarray there with, Doc Rivers, I mean, Cleveland playing good ball. They're actually the Cavs, the number 2 spot. But is anybody really in the Boston Celtics class in the Eastern Conference?
No, they're really not. And I have to write off the Milwaukee Bucks. And, Celtics definitely number 1, top dogs, 43-12, really just a juggernaut starting 5. And, a bench who has to pick up their game in the postseason. That's going to be a deciding factor if they're going to win it all. But, yeah, Ken, my Knicks, they need to just maintain right now because without Randall, without Hartenstein, without Mitchell Robinson, without OG Anunoby, it's been tough. Like you said, I think lost 4 of the last 5, and it's been ugly. I mean, the weight is all on Jalen Brunson, and he can only do so much. So, we'll see how it's going to be these next few games. I know Julius is coming back soon. Hartenstein's coming back. Mitchell Robinson's about a month away. So the reinforcements are coming finally. But after such a great start, it's been tough watching them all banged up because I know their true potential. I think Cleveland's another contender to Boston. But the thing is, my Knicks beat them last year. So if the Knicks and the Cavs meet in the playoffs, the Knicks have gotten better, with players that they've gotten. OG Anunoby, the defender, and everybody else, Dante DiVincenzo. But Cleveland's kind of stayed the same. Now, that makes me think, okay, maybe their chemistry is better and Donovan Mitchell's playing like an MVP this year. But are the Knicks the better team this year? I think on paper they are. So that might determine who's going to battle the Celtics in the East because I'm not convinced of Milwaukee, and I'm not convinced of the 76ers if Embiid is banged up. So this is finally, Ken, after all these years, the Knicks' path to making the NBA Finals, or at least the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right, so you mentioned Cleveland and Donovan Mitchell. We know what a great player he is, but Garland's fun to watch. Max Strus, I remember him just at his DePaul days, for the love of God. It was the big guy can knock down that triple. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. I mean, they've got players, and this team seems to play hard every single night.
Yeah, they play egoless basketball, and they're deep. I mean, you got Karis LeVert as like a 6th man of the year candidate who could be a starting shooting guard on any other team. Other guys off that bench who could snipe. Sam Merrill out of nowhere from the NBA G League on a 2-way deal comes up, and now he's averaging like 10 points per game, hitting like 3 threes a game, sometimes exploding for 7. So they got some, hidden gems on that bench who are really helping them out. And, yeah, they've been impressive. I think they're like 19-1 or 18-2 over the last 20 games, something crazy like that. And I'm looking at the standings right now, Ken. They're 4 games up on my Knicks, so they've been playing really impressive at the right time while the Knicks are banged up.
Yeah, no doubt. Taking advantage of what's gotten them an opportunity to move into that 2 spot. What about what's the deal? What's the feeling on Philadelphia? Can they survive? Can they hold on and make sure that they're going to be, at least in the top 6? When Embiid gets back.
Ew, it's tough. I'm looking at the standings. They're 2 games out of the 6th spot, 2.5 out of the 8th, and 7 out of the 9th. So it seems like they're almost guaranteed to at least make the playing game. But, yeah, they need to maintain. I mean, Buddy Hield was a great pickup, and he's been averaging like 20 in his few games there. But It's tough. I mean, Indiana's right on their heels. Miami and Orlando, who have the potential to go on a winning streak. I mean, look what Orlando did early in the year, winning 8 in a row. You never know when they could get hot. So if the 76ers survive and make the play-in and Embiid is hurt, they should have no problem, getting out of the play-in and really competing in the first round. But, then playoff Embiid is there. With a banged-up knee, I'm not convinced.
What about Miami? Because they were busy. They were jockeying around and bringing Terry Rozier over. You still have Hero. Jimmy Butler, we know. Jimmy Buckets is going to be ready. I love Bam Adebayo. I wish the Knicks had him. But talk to me about Miami. Are they still a dangerous team when it gets to the postseason?
It's so tough because this is what Jimmy does every year. It's almost like, he half-asses the regular season. He's not really a huge number guy during the regular season, but he's playing solid, almost triple-double ball through it, and then he just turns up in the playoffs. So I really can't write them off. I remember last time I was on the show, we were talking about Terry Rozier being traded there, and I thought it was going to be a great move, but they've all pretty much been playing like 500 ball with him. I don't know if they can't find the chemistry and having a scoring point guard at the one, but come playoff time when, it becomes real, and the defense becomes real, we know Miami schemes and Eric Spoelstra are going to have them locked in. So they're really not anybody to be messed with, but I don't think they're going to get as far as they did last year.
Yeah, it is. It is always dangerous when you have guys like Duncan Robinson and Jaime Jaquez Jr. that can step up at any time and get rolling. But, yeah, they just need everybody to be on the same page, and we'll see indeed how they fare. All right, let's jump over to the West. What's your take on the Lakers? Because they're over 500 by 4 games now. We know LeBron going to push it up as high as he can. Would this be his last year, or do you think he's going to stick around for a little bit?
I think he's going to stick around a little bit. I think, I read a report last week from The Athletic that the Lakers will be willing to trade a first-round pick or any pick that they have to land Bronny James. That makes me think this is all set up, Ken, that LeBron comes here back in, 2018-19. They win the championship, and what LeBron said to the Lakers management is, okay, I got you that championship. Now you get me Bronny on this team. Because it was up to him if he wanted to become teammates with Steph Curry in Golden State last week, and he said no. So I think it's all set up for Bronny to be here. So I think he's still going to be playing great ball with the Lakers next year, and him and Bronny are going to be teammates.
Mikey D, when they talk expansion and they mention Vegas, what are we talking about? How many years down the line if they do indeed get that done?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, hypothetically, you would think if they're going to expand one team to Vegas, they should, in my opinion, add a 32nd team somewhere else to make it even across the board in each conference. I could see probably within 5 years. Just look at all the other leagues. Look at the NHL. Look at the NFL. Having good teams out there in Vegas. The crowds are crazy. It's another thing to do for every single person who flies into Sin City to go to a hockey game, to go to a football game when it's in season. And Nets will just be going to a basketball game. So I know LeBron wants to buy into that team in Vegas. So when you get the face of the NBA saying he wants to own that team, you would really think business-wise that they're going to trend towards it pretty soon because of the potential in it. And outside of them, I think, you make Vegas and the Seattle Supersonics a team again, and there we go.
I was just going to say Seattle. Seattle be they're the last two NHL teams, both expansion teams, and Seattle. When the Sonics left there was a major uproar. There was good support to try and keep that team there before they bailed OKC. So, I agree with you. I think both those teams, both those cities, would be indeed the next two lined up for expansion.
It's just, it's tough to say, okay, well, who's going to be in the Eastern Conference, who's going to be in the Western Conference. I don't know if they're going to put Vegas in the East. I don't know if they're going to swivel somebody out to the East who's kind of, in Middle America, so to speak. I don't know how they're going to do that. Ken, what do you think about that? Who would be East or West?
Yeah, that's a thing because you always kind of you look at everything and you say like, oh man, like how is this team even in the West? So when you look at teams, you've got a Minnesota. they're not East, but they're definitely not West, right? I mean, you look at realistically OKC, they're Midwest for sure, but everybody else is further west than there. So the two teams I'd look at right away. Well, Minnesota would be the first team because I think Minnesota is probably the closest geographically to the East, and it's pretty close though. When Minnesota, OKC. Oh, there you go, New Orleans. That's right. New Orleans is definitely the first one for sure. So yeah, New Orleans would definitely be East, and then you'd find a partner for them, and maybe it could be OKC and or Minnesota. So those would be the three that you would look at, but you got to balance these things, right? And so then you got to you kind of look at the Eastern Conference. There's really nobody that you would ship out west, right? They're all, you know what? Who knows if you even have an East and West? Just put everybody in there and just let's play some ball, man. I mean, let's play some ball and let's play some defense in an All-Star game because it doesn't mean jack for the All-Star game, whether it's Eastern Conference, Western Conference. I was whining about that at the beginning, saying, well, if they'd stop just picking teams with Team LeBron and this and that and go back to Eastern West, and my producer's like, well, they did go back to Eastern West. It's still that bad, only it's worse.
Oh, Ken, how about that skills challenge? Oh, my God. Scotty Barnes turning around, shooting a half-court shot over his head and dribbling a ball off his leg. They got to have a one-on-one tournament or a two-on-two tournament where, Luka and Jokic could be against, I don't know, Embiid and Steph Curry or something like that. Make it exciting. Put $1 million on the line and try to make these guys play and put on a show because skills challenge was bad. All-Star game was bad. Dunk contest was all right. Three-point contest was great, and so was Steph against Sabrina. So there were some highlights, but a ton of lowlights.
All right, so defending champion Nuggets, where are we as far as them getting back to, being whole? And are they, when they are 100% healthy, are they the team to beat? And the other team I just wanted to get in real quick, the Clippers. So those two teams, Denver and the Clippers, where are you as far as those two teams?
Yeah, no, I love Denver as usual. I mean, Jokic in the playoffs. Jamal Murray is like Jimmy Butler. He turns into Superman in the playoffs. I think they have the ability to repeat. I think they do, but it's going to be way, way harder than last year. I mean, look at Minnesota, OKC, and the Clippers at the top right with them. It's going to be tough. And their bench is going to have to win them a couple series because without Bruce Brown, they're a little thinner than they were last year. And then the Clippers. God, if that team is healthy, I wrote them off pretty early. I didn't think Harden would play as efficient as he's playing now with them through the year, and they're scary, man. That bench is almost a starting five. Russell Westbrook, Norm Powell, Mason Plumlee down there. So many guys who could be starters on any other team. So they're deep. They're deep. I don't want to make a total prediction.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say if Denver and Boston would be my pick.
Yeah, I see Denver, Boston, or Clippers, Boston, and I have to write off the Timberwolves. I feel like they need one more year. One more year for the Timberwolves.
What about OKC? What are they, a player away?
Time. They need a little more time. I think they're going to they're used to this run and gun, high fast pace in the regular season. I think when teams really slow them down, they're going to get beat in the series 4-2. Even in the 7-game series in the first round. They're not there yet. I don't think Gordon Hayward has played yet for them, but he's going to be a great piece to fit in with them. They need one more year to mature. I think Chet needs to mature as a big man and offensively. And, Jalen Williams next year as a more mature small forward is going to be great.
Great stuff, Mikey D. Let everybody know how they can find you, follow you, listen to you, all the different things that you do. And you had something else going on, right? MMA, or were you getting into the UFC as well?
Yes. Well, I know Vegas is all into boxing, MMA, and whatnot. So follow Combat Buzz, just eclipsed 1,000 followers on Instagram there and about 10,000 followers total, which, it's a work in progress. I didn't get 3.5 million followers on NBA Buzz overnight. So that's another page I'm building up. Follow NBA Buzz, soon to be Courtside Buzz on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and check out me on YouTube, Mikey Domagala. You could see basketball topics that I talk about and other current topics in politics and, talking about history on YouTube.
Outstanding stuff. That's what I love about you, man. You're a young guy. You're 24, but at the end of the day, you do your homework and you go back and you pick up the history. And the association was great as I was growing up. And each era will say that they're the best, but realistically, I've seen a bunch of them. I do like it the way it was back with the Bird and Magic and Jordan, and I know sometimes they'll be like, oh man, come on, just enjoy the young stuff. Look, I enjoy good solid defense. Now I think the Knicks and Heat series that went a little too far, even as a Knicks fan, to where it was knockdown, drag out, and the games would be like 72-67 sometimes. I mean, it would be unbelievable, but they were intense. I do miss some of those old Knicks-Pacers games. Those were a lot of fun, even though Reggie's pushing Starks in the back and got away with it. But, man, just some of the great stuff back in the day. I do appreciate a lot of the history. And, gosh darn it, Mikey D, you're only 24, and the Knicks haven't won it since 1973, man. Unbelievable. One of these years, buddy. One of these years, I promise.
Yeah, hopefully. I'll be right at that parade. And hopefully I'll fly you out and you can come with me. But, last playoff series last year, Knicks Heat, which went 6, almost 7 games, was great. And that shows that there is still defensive ball playing in this league. And, the NBA is way better in the playoffs than the regular season. So that gives me some hope, and hopefully it gives you hope as well. And hopefully we see another Knicks defensive effort this postseason, and the league could see that. Yeah, you win games playing defense.
There you go. And I always appreciate Mikey D weighing in on SportsX Radio. He's been doing it for years, and he's just a kid, baby. He's not a kid. He's a young adult, and but he's filled with knowledge, and he is a kid to me, and I do enjoy him, and can't wait to hang out with him, hopefully Summer League this summer. Mikey D, thanks so much for always joining me, and I know the time difference, but you never shy away from SportsX Radio, man. You're always there for me.
Ken, thanks a lot as always. And come on, I get the early bird special now at 10 o'clock, not 11 or 12 like I.
That's right. That is it. Good stuff there. All right, that'll take us to our final break of the evening. SportsX Radio 101.5 FM KDAWN. We stream live on that Odyssey app, AUDACY. Mark Hoke spinning the hits. He'll spin one more as we come back, wrap things up on a Fat Tuesday, live from Vegas.